And upon the 3rd September, Prime Minister Chamberlain made his historic and depressing announcement.
I am speaking to you from the Cabinet Room at 10 Downing Street. This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
We're on number 12 platform at Waterloo Station, one of the 10 big metropolitan stations that are engaged today on the evacuation of London's school children. We're on number 12 platform, the train's in, and the children are just arriving, coming along in their school groups with a banner in front saying what school they are. This lot, St. John's School, Walworth, which is south of the river, and then they follow behind. The tiny tots in front, leading up to the bigger ones, the 12, 13-year-olds behind, and here comes a high school, more like 14, 15 and 16. They're being evacuated too.
First time at the beginning of the war was with my county council school. We had what our teachers used to call a dummy run, because for days, or 3 or 4 days at least, we all came to school with our little suitcase or what have you, with a few clothes in it. This particular day, as other days before, we assembled in the schoolyard with our teachers, put in charge of a little tiny junior person, as I was a big girl at that time. And this was the day that we were going to go. On come the coach, on we get, go off, no parents to say bye-bye, nobody but a load of grown-ups and our teachers and the headmistress. And off we go to a station. I learnt since that it was Euston Station. I think that's right, I said to my friend as she was talking to me. Euston Station, I think teacher said. And at the station there was all these people, there was soldiers and people coming and going. It's all very exciting. A lot of my friends, they were crying, especially my classroom mate, she was crying awful. What are you crying for? I said. Oh, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave my mum and dad, she said. Anyway, off we go. Get on the train. This lady come along and poked her head through the window and said, did I want a drink? And the teacher said, no, you better not have a drink, she said, because you keep wanting to go to the toilet. We can't all do that. So, I didn't have a drink. And then she'd put in my hand, wrapped up, I learnt it was a sandwich. I think it was corned beef, but I can't truly say it was corned beef, but I think it was. And then off the train went when it was packed full. Everybody saying now, sit down, be good, write to Mummy and Daddy, bye, bye, and everybody was waving. And it was marvellous. You see, I hadn't been on a train, and I hadn't been to the country, and all these people sort of taking notice of you. It was really good. Then we shushed along for a little while, the train did, and then pulled into a siding to let a troop train go by. And we were all looking out of the window saying, oh, look, soldiers. Off we go again, and then after a time we come to this little village. all trooped out, all lined up, and went into the little village hall. A lot of us couldn't get in. It was so small, so we had to stand outside. And along came these people and looked at you, asked questions. Did I wet the bed? Had I got nits? And even had a look. And I was really upset over this. You see, I had nits at school. But then, as my stepmother said, oh, you got them from somebody else. But I hadn't got nits now. Along come these two old ladies. And they said yes, they would take me. Oh, they did love it. Oh, lovely, lovely little cottage. And an orchard. And there was apples. And I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to love this. I'm really going to love this because apples. Oh, but I didn't really love it. Oh, do you know, I called it Must Not House because there were so many rules and regulations. I must not do this and I must not do that, and take your shoes off, sit down, sit up straight, eat all your greens. They didn't know a thing about children. And I was very unhappy there. Very unhappy. And I was naughty too. Yes, I was very naughty, because if I'm unhappy, I'm naughty. And so my stepmother said to me, as I wrote to her, she wrote back and she said, oh, well, you better come back home again then.
We were so young, the time was an evening in May. I wore the pale pink organdy you thought so gay. Life was a thing of eager spring and moonlight, and I was a girl and you were a boy from over the way. We were so...
My name is Joyce Milan, and about late 1944 I was expecting my first baby, and I was sent away from the area as they thought that expectant mothers should be out of the range of the rockets we were getting increasingly. And I was sent down to Brenchley near Paddock Wood in Kent. It was a very large mansion, and it had been owned by a family called Podmores, and they'd left it at the beginning of the war, and they'd taken it over to house expectant mothers and babies to be born. It was a beautiful hallway, all oak panelled, with a big central staircase all polished, and photographs of the family all round the walls, and suits of armour at either side of the staircase at the bottom, which I used to tell the other expectant mothers I thought some of the old Podmores were honed up inside those suits of armour, and they were afraid to walk about at night in case they were. But it was very primitive. When we arrived, we were put up in a top room called the waiter's room, and the beds were so uncomfortable because they'd housed many expectant mothers for quite a long while. We had one little fireplace and no coal. We used to have to take turns of getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go down the back staircase, which was the servants' entrance, to get lukewarm cocoa, because we didn't have tea because it was rationed. And it was always just barely warm, and it was thick snow at the time. It was right in the middle of winter, and you never saw a soul. The whole place for miles around was just covered in white snow. You never even saw anything moving. And they said that if we could go out for walks if we wished while we were waiting for the babies to be born. So we went out gathering sticks. We thought if we could gather sticks, we could light a fire and it wouldn't be so cold. Nothing like central heating there. Was nothing like that at all. So we used to gather all these bits of stick, and of course we couldn't get them to burn because they were green and they were wet. So we used to dry them off, and in our room they used to leave a big bottle of liquid paraffin that we were supposed to take tablespoonful for in the morning and tablespoonful at night. But we found if we poured it on the sticks it would burn. So we used to use the liquid